Hey friends, welcome to AI with Supreet. In today's video, we will talk about planners. So up until now, in all the videos, we have seen that you give an instruction to the AI model, and the AI model is able to work on that instruction and give you the results back. Well, that's a great idea, but in um, production apps, you will end up with a number of prompts and calling each uh, giving calling each of these prompts based on each of your requests, wherein one request corresponds to one prompt is going to you are going to end up with a lot of function calls. So what planner does basically is planner saves you that effort, and it is automatically able to orchestrate which function to call, which prompt to call. It can also take the input from one of the output from one of the prompts and then serve that as an input to another prompt. So basically, this can planner can help you chain different functions, and it can create a plan uh, with a number of tasks broken down into smaller units. So if you give it a very large task, the planner is able to break them down into smaller tasks and then identify which of the prompts that you have or which of the plugins that you have um, available in your code. It is able to figure out which one to use in what order, and then it is also able to chain them together. So let's see that with an example. So what we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and create a new console app. I'm going to call it SK Planner. We will start with our usual stuff. We will go ahead and add our NuGet packages. So the first NuGet package that I will add is Semantic Kernel. So we'll go ahead and add that to our project. And the next one, because we are working with planners, we will need to add semantic kernel dot handlebar planners. And this one, please be mindful that this is available in the pre-release. So please check that in order to see that NuGet and then install this package as well. Okay, now we are ready to go ahead and start writing our code. So the first thing first is we will go ahead and use our using statements. So our using statements are pretty much the same. These two is what we have been using so far. For this particular code, we will also use handlebars, which are under our pre-release NuGet that we just added, planners.handlebar. So we will go ahead and add this Microsoft.semantickernel.planning.handlebars. With that in place, the next thing that we need to do is to go ahead and add our Azure config. I'm going to blur my screen for that. So very quickly, I'll go ahead and copy paste that in. And with our configuration in place, let's go ahead and start writing the code. So the first three steps are going to be the same. So I'm going to copy them all at once. So again, what we are doing is we are using the kernel object to create a builder, providing it with the Azure config settings, and then using the build method to create a kernel object out of it. Once that is done, now let's go ahead and start working on the planner. So we'll go ahead and create a new planner. Planners are available under handlebars planners. So we'll create a new object of that, and we'll have to suppress the warnings because planners are also in pre-release as of today. So once that is done, we will go ahead and provide the plugins to the planner. What does this mean? So we have, the planner needs the plugins to carry out the work that you ask it to do. And how does the planner get to know which plugins are available? Well, we'll have to supply the names and the details of these plugins to the planner. And the way we do that is by providing these values here. So we'll have to go ahead and create these plugins. So if you remember the plugin application code that we did earlier, you know that semantic kernel allows you to write external plugins. You can read the plugins from the doc like this. So you'll have to go ahead and create folders because we want two different plugins called Summarize plugin and so I'll go ahead and create this Summarize plugin. I'll go ahead and add one more called Writer plugin. And inside of the Summarize plugin, I'll have a job. I'll call it Summarize. And inside of the Writer plugin, I'll have a job called Short Poem. You can call it whatever you want. Then, if you remember, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and add the prompt file, which is going to be a text file in our case, and the name of the text file has to be strictly SK prompt. So we'll go ahead and add that. And we also need a configuration, which is going to be a JSON file where we the name of this file is config.json. So please make sure that the names are correct because that's how Semantic Kernel is able to identify uh, what are the names of what is the name of the plugin. It identifies that by looking at this folder name inside of this plugins folder. What the plugin does is it figures that out based on this prompt, and the config file tells the details of the plugin in terms of what are the parameters, what are the execution parameters, and such information. So we'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and copy my prompt from here. So this is my summary prompt. So let me go ahead and open escape prompt for summary. And here I am saying this. This is what we are saying. We are saying that summarize this given input, and we are also giving it some instructions here, and we are also saying that not to use these words. So this is our prompt to summarize. Now, in order to write the config, I'll just go ahead and copy the config as well. So that's the config for that. Go ahead and add another config.json. You'll see what we are saying here is again the description is to summarize given text on any text document. This description is how the planner is able to identify which plugin to call at runtime. So, and we have some execution parameters that we talked about in one of our other videos. So max tokens 512, we'll keep the temperature at 0.0, and we have only one variable called the input variable. The job of that variable is the variable's definition is it is the variable that is text to summarize, and it is a required variable. All right. So now let's go ahead and do the same with the short poem as well. And I'm going to copy the prompt for that and also the config for that. In here, and we are saying that turn a scenario into short poem. This the scenario to turn into a poem. So we have that in place. And here is the prompt for generating the short poem. It says generate a short funny poem or a limerick explaining the given event. Be creative and funny. And because we want it to be creative and funny, let me go ahead and change the temperature. It's already at 0.8. Okay, so we are good. You'll see the max token is 60, so we don't want a huge poem here as well. The summary has to be short. Okay, so with that in place, we have uh, oops. Let me okay, let's just verify we have everything in place. So we have the escape prompt here. We have the config for it, which is to generate the poem with the details. We have the prompt this one, and we have details for this one as well. Sounds good. So let's go ahead and feed these plugins to our kernel by using this method called import plugin from prompt direct, and then feed them to the kernel. As the next step, let's go ahead and create our ask, which is this. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I need to come up with a few date ideas. My significant other likes poems, so write in the form of a poem and we'll create a plan. So the plan is created using planner object dot create plan async. We will pass in the kernel and our ask. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and see what the plan it creates. So we'll go ahead and create our plan, original plan, and we will just print it out for us to see. And then finally, we are going to also execute the plan, and we are going to, when you execute the plan, how do you plan execute the plan? You just use this original plan object dot invoke async, again give it a kernel and any kernel arguments if you need to pass on to it. So with that in place, we have everything in place. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. All right, so you see it has printed the original plan. Original plan is step one is to identify any key values. It identifies that there is Valentine's Day upcoming. The step two that the planner was able to create was that choose the right helpers. So it was able to figure out the writer plugin, short poem method. Then step three was to don't create or assume unlisted helpers. So no additional custom helpers are required because it has the right plugin dot short poem method that we feed into it. And then step four is what if I need more helpers? It does not require that. Step five, keep it simple. Step six, no nested helpers. Step seven, output the results. So you see, it is able to create a plan all by itself based on our ask. And then finally, it executed that ask and that plan and created this poem for us. Quite fascinating, isn't it? All right, let's go ahead and modify this a little. And this time, what we are going to do is we are going to add it, give it one more skill. So I'm going to copy this and give it one more skill here. And what we are doing is we are saying that use the input, but rewrite that above poem in the style of Shakespeare, right? And then we are using this prompt, feeding it with our execution settings, and then we are creating a function out of it using kernel.create function from prompt. With that in place, let's go ahead and update our ask. So our second ask in this case is to update the ask to use a new plugin. Here we are saying that it's a Valentine's Day. I need to come up with date ideas. But here's the detail we are also providing in the prompt. We are saying that she likes Shakespeare. So write the poem using that style. And remember, we now have one more skill here, one more plugin here that is able to do that. So let's do that, and then we'll go ahead and create the updated plan using kernel and asks2, and then we will execute this new plan, and then we'll just print the results. So let's go ahead and run this again and see what happens. So as you can see, it is able to generate the original plan. This time it was able to do that with 3 steps, and then it generated a poem. But then if you see where is the updated plan, yeah, here it is the new plan results. It's showing that the new plan results here. And if you see that it was able to use that new plugin that we gave it to, and then it basically converted the generated poem into um, a poem that Shakespeare would have written. So that's how the planners work. I hope you enjoyed this. In the next video, we will see how to create RAG or RAG applications. Thanks a lot. Bye.